Okay, guys, so the next video is on slope, and I promise I will try to make this one quicker. I know my tables, graphs, and equation one got a little long-winded, but to be honest with you, that is the foundation for all algebra that's coming from this point forward. So I really hope you guys take a second to watch the video. Even if this is a parent watching the videos, you know, might be a good idea to make them sit down. And I realize it was about 20 minutes, but it'd be really good for them to see that video. So moving on, part of that video, that was just the basics of how to link tables, graphs, and equations together to find slope and y-intercept in those. There are going to be some cases where the slope is not very easy to find, where you won't just be able to look at the table and see what they're going up by. So when that happens, we need to have another way to find slope, and that's what we're going to work on right now. So a couple things about slope real quick. Slope, of course, is the m in the slope formula, okay? Or in the y equals mx plus b. So the number that's next to x, that's always going to be your slope. Now, you can have, if that's your coordinate plane, you could have a positive slope, which means it would go up, okay? You could have a negative slope, which would mean it would go down. Real simple stuff. You could also have a zero slope. Zero slope would be if you had a coordinate plane, like so, and then you had a horizontal line. And that would make sense because the slope is what gives the line its steepness or lack thereof. So if you just have a flat line, obviously there is no slope, and that's why this would be called zero slope. And then sometimes you will also get a vertical line, and the vertical line is undefined. Okay, we're not going to go too far on that. Just trust me. If you see a vertical line and they ask you to tell you, if they ask what the slope is, it's undefined. Okay, your algebra teacher next year will go way more into that, but right now that's all you need to know. Our big focus, I'll tell you what, I will go ahead and show you this. I have a trick for memorizing the different slopes. This was actually taught to me by one of the algebra teachers up here at York, really good teacher, Miss Seeley. I think she goes by Badger Cook now, as a matter of fact. She's a phenomenal teacher. So what she teaches her algebra kids is this. And she showed me, if you look at their tests, I'll actually have this written on their test. As soon as they get it, they'll write it on there real quick. So if the line's going up, obviously that's a positive slope. If the line's going down, that's a negative slope. Horizontal, that's a zero slope. And if it goes down, that's undefined. Wow. Sorry about that. Undefined for the U. Okay? So if you want some cool way to, I don't know if it's cool, but if you want a way to remember slopes, the different kind of slopes you can get, boom, 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 positive up, negative goes down, zero is horizontal, undefined is going straight down. Okay, so what is slope? Slope is the vertical change divided by the horizontal change. So algebraically, it's going to look like this. You're going to subtract the y's, which is your vertical. I mean, if you look at a coordinate plane, the vertical axis is the y. The horizontal axis is the x. Okay. So it's vertical change, vertical change, vertical change over horizontal change, horizontal change. So in other words, the vertical change is going to deal with the y's, and the horizontal change is going to deal with the x's. Okay? So the formula, obviously if the vertical is on top, that's going to deal with the y's, is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you're probably saying, what is all this x1, y1, all this stuff? Well, what's going to happen is you're going to be given two, are we even seeing that? Okay, I guess we are seeing that. Sorry, just want to make sure we're seeing that. But you're going to be given two coordinates. We're going to make them real easy. Let's say you get a coordinate like 1, 4, and let's say 2, 8. That ought to come out real easy. Okay? So, remember with every coordinate, you have an x and a y, right? You can't see that. You have an x and a y. So what this is going to be is this is your first x, this is your x1, and this is your y1. This is your x2, and this is your y2. So it's going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what I did was just kind of develop a rhythm when I was a kid where I would just go boom, 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 boom. So 8 minus 4, 2 minus 1. y2, 8 minus y1 over x2, 2 minus x1, 1. So once you work it out, you're going to end up with 8 minus 4 is 4, over 2 minus 1 is 2, and 2 goes into 4 2 times, so your slope is 2. And that's how you find slope. Again, the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, you don't need to memorize. It's going to be on every formula chart you're given this year. But then again, it's not like it's that hard to memorize. So you got two coordinates. You're going to go y minus y, x over x minus x, and just watch your signs. The good news is if you get some kind of crazy looking problem over here, like -8 minus a -4 or something like that, use the calculator. As long as you put it in the same way it looks on your paper, you should be able to get it right. There is one more thing I want to add as far as slope is concerned. I've only taught this for 1 year, and my kids did pretty good, but there was one trick that I picked up from a teacher that I used to work with, and what they would tell their kids to do is before you ever start plugging in numbers, draw the skeleton. That's what they would call the skeleton. In other words, it would just be the parentheses with a minus sign in between over a parentheses with a minus sign in between. And the idea behind this is, if you get a really, really crazy, let's do like -2, -4 as the coordinate, and then -3, -8 is the other coordinate. Now, if you get something like that, that's a lot of negatives. They look pretty crazy. So what will end up happening is when kids start doing the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, they start getting the minus and the negative mixed up. Did I already put the minus in there? Did I forget to put the negative? So make the skeleton before you even look at the coordinates. Just put the skeleton in there. Don't even look at it. And now start plugging stuff in. You know that right here is going to go y2. Right here is going to go y1. Right here is going to go x2. Right here is going to go x1. Don't think about it. Don't worry about the minus being there. y2 is a -8. I'm going to put it there. y1 is a -4. I'm going to put it there. x2 is a -3. I'm going to put it where it's supposed to go. And x1 is a -2. I'm putting it where it's supposed to go. Now, if you're good on your rules, you know that minus a negative, you make that plus. Minus a negative, you make that plus. So -8 plus 4 would be -4. And -3 plus 2 would be -1. So your slope would be 1 goes into 4 4 times. The signs are the same, so it's +4. Now, if you're not so good with your integers, then in the calculator, you put -4 minus a -4, and it would have told you -4 by itself. Either way, the point is the skeleton. I really think it's smart, especially with all the negative and positive numbers you're going to get. Always start with that. And then just go y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and you should be good to go. And that's how you find slope. Okay? So one more thing. I'm going to turn it this way. Okay, so over here you see the words constant of proportionality. Move this out of the way on the board. Constant of proportionality is another word for slope. So now slope is coefficient. Slope is pretty soon going to be called unit rate. It's called slope. And in a proportional relationship, and only in a proportional relationship, I've got it written right here, only in proportional relationship, that number that goes next to x can also be called the constant of proportionality. So why does that help us out? With all these other crazy names for slope, why do we have to have another one? Here's why. If it's a proportional relationship, you don't have to do the y2 minus y1 and all of that stuff. In other words, we don't have to go through all of this if it's a proportional relationship. If it's a proportional relationship, you just need one coordinate. So for example, let's say your coordinate was 4, 8. All you do is you put the y over the x. So it'd be 8 over 4. 4 goes into 8 twice. So your slope is 2. And that's it. So in a proportional relationship, they may call it constant of proportionality instead of slope. If you are in a proportional relationship, it's fantastic because you don't have to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All you got to do is have one coordinate, put the y over the x, and then divide, get your slope. So there's slope, there's constant of proportionality. Remember, that's only in proportional relationships. And that's everything I got for slope. Just be very, very careful. I usually don't have too many issues with kids finding slope, but if I do have an issue, it's right in here with the minus sign. That's why I say draw the skeleton first. Be very careful with your signs. And that's what I got for slope.